Okay, so we're going to start off by looking at how effective family engagement in this case played a major role in achieving a successful outcome. So let's start out by taking a quick look at this with regard to some of the different areas of treatment planning. The first obvious one would be length of stay. We had a client who was pushing hard to leave 3 weeks into treatment, but as a direct result of that immediate family engagement, the mother shut that down right away. He ended up staying in treatment for 6 weeks, and he discharged with a successful completion of the program. Another way of measuring success in this case would be with regard to the continuum of care. The mother was learning about how important it is to continue an IOP after discharging from residential, and she began researching options while he was still there. There's a lot that goes into figuring that all out, and because the mother got a good head start on that, they ended up having a well-informed plan at the time of discharge, and the client literally started IOP the day after he left residential treatment. Another area where family engagement can make a big difference is in their understanding of relapse prevention and what all goes into an effective plan there. And the main part of that is understanding the importance of reducing the client's exposure to relapse triggers. And that's not always a real popular topic, especially with some of our younger clients. But it's good to get that stuff hashed out before the client leaves treatment so that we can make sure that everyone's on the same page and there's a solid commitment to that on the client's part. In this case, the mother was already on board with understanding why the client needed to be restricted from who he could see or things that he could do, and he was able to have his little meltdowns about the boundaries that were being set while he was still in a safe place and had the support he needed while he worked through this. And he ended up being in a good place about this when the time came to leave. Then another area that sort of goes along with relapse prevention is the development of an ongoing sober support system. This is the world of the self-help groups, AA, NA, CA, Al-Anon, Alateen, Celebrate Recovery, Smart Recovery, Refuge Recovery. To the families, it's a bunch of names that all sound the same, and there's a real steep learning curve for them to get their heads around all of this. And this is an area where we end up seeing a lot of cracks in the foundation that start with the client not being completely committed to it, but when the family doesn't really understand what it is that they're supposed to be committing to, they're not able to provide effective accountability for making sure that that part of the plan is being implemented. In this case, the mother had started hearing about these kinds of groups during her family participation in the client's treatment, and she was beginning to try to figure that all out and determine where the kid would go when he got out. But when I talked to her during that time, I could see that there were some things that she didn't quite understand, and that was preventing her from coming up with a plan that made sense for the client's meeting attendance after discharge. And it's my experience that a lot of times families are trying to do the right thing as far as figuring out what this 12-step part of the plan is supposed to look like, but in a lot of cases it's so confusing for them that they don't even know the right questions to be asking. But in this case, with the information that the mom got in Module 3 on this topic, things fell into place. She learned what questions to be asking. She learned the difference between AA and NA. She learned the difference between an open and a closed meeting. She found the right resources, and they ended up with a solid plan for the client's ongoing sober support, and he began attending NA meetings as soon as he was discharged. Okay, so that's just an overview of how rehab work supported the treatment plan in this case and ended up playing a big role in the successful outcome that we saw here. What we're going to do in the next couple of videos is take a closer look at some of the specific content from the course and show how it was used to directly address some of the problems we saw in this case.